D.Va. D.Va is a former professional gamer turned mech pilot, defending South Korea from Omnic invasions with her high-tech mech. Abilities: fusion cannons. D.Va's short-range shotguns fire rapidly without the need to reload, making her a force in close-range engagements. Boosters. Boosters allow D.Va to fly forward in any direction, enabling quick dives, escapes, or engaging from different angles. Defense Matrix, a cone-shaped field projected in front of D.Va that absorbs projectiles and is on a resource meter, good for eating ultimates. Micro Missiles, launches a swarm of small rockets that deal AoE damage, useful for bursting down targets and gives D.Va a long-range attack. Eject, D.Va ejects from her mech when it is destroyed. Light Gun, an automatic pistol. Call Mech, allows D.Va to call down a new mech. Self-Destruct Ultimate, D.Va ejects from her mech, causing it to explode after a short delay, dealing massive damage in a wide area, ideal for zoning or wiping groups. Playstyle, D.Va thrives in fast-paced, aggressive play, diving enemy backlines and using Defense Matrix to protect her team. Strengths: mobility, damage absorption, zoning with self-destruct. Weaknesses: limited range, vulnerable out of mech. Best composition: dive with teammates like Ana or Genji. Counters: Zarya, Mei, or Zenyatta, because their abilities or weapons pierce Defense Matrix. Difficulty: medium. Mastery of Defense Matrix timing and decision-making in dive play are crucial. Doomfist. Doomfist is a visionary leader of talent, using his cybernetic gauntlet to fuel conflict, believing it's essential for human evolution. Abilities: the best defense. When Doomfist does damage with his abilities, he gains overhealth. Hand Cannon. Fires a shotgun blast from his gauntlet's knuckles, effective at short range but with limited ammo that reloads automatically. Rocket Punch. Charges and lunges forward, delivering a powerful punch that knocks enemies back, stunning and dealing extra damage if they hit a wall. Seismic Slam. Leaps forward, smashing into the ground. Power Block. Protects Doomfist from frontal attacks, blocking heavy damage, and powers Rocket Punch. Meteor Strike Ultimate. Doomfist leaps into the air, disappearing. While in the air, he heals and his ability cooldown rates are accelerated. Then, he slams down at a targeted location, dealing significant damage at the center and slowing enemies. Playstyle. Doomfist excels in diving onto enemy backlines using his mobility, knockback, and burst damage to disrupt formations. Strengths: high burst damage, crowd control, and mobility. Weaknesses: vulnerable without cooldowns, weak against crowd control abilities. Best composition: dive, working with mobile heroes like Lucio and Tracer. Counters: Sombra. Hack disables his abilities, Roadhog hook punishes his dives, and Brigitte can whipshot his dives. Difficulty: hard. Doomfist requires precise ability chaining and positional awareness, with small margins for error. Junker Queen. As the ruler of Junkertown, Junker Queen leads with strength and ferocity, using a mix of brute force and tactics to dominate the battlefield. Abilities: Adrenaline Rush. Heal from damage done by bleed effects. Scattergun. A pump-action shotgun that deals heavy damage at close range, making her lethal in brawls. Jagged Blade. Throws a knife that deals bleed damage over time and can be recalled, pulling impaled enemies toward her. Great for initiating fights or isolating targets. Commanding Shout. Increases health and movement speed for Junker Queen and nearby allies, providing a significant survivability boost in close-range skirmishes. Carnage. Swings her axe in a wide arc, dealing damage and applying a bleed effect to enemies hit, giving her sustain in prolonged engagements. Cooldown shortens the more enemies hit. Rampage. Ultimate. Charges forward, inflicting anti-heal and bleed to all enemies hit. Playstyle. Junker Queen thrives in aggressive close-range combat, providing survivability for her team while dealing heavy damage through bleeds. Strengths: strong self-sustain, anti-heal ultimate, and excellent in brawl scenarios. Weaknesses: lack of vertical mobility and range makes her vulnerable to poke compositions. Best composition: brawl, with heroes like Lucio and Reaper. Counters: long-range heroes like Orisa or Ashe can deal with her from afar, and Ana, who can apply anti-heal. Difficulty: hard. Success hinges on proper use of Commanding Shout and managing her bleed mechanics. Mauga. A charismatic and cunning Samoan warrior, Mauga thrives in the chaos of battle and lives every day like it's his last. Abilities: Berserker. Gains temporary overhealth when dealing critical damage. Incendiary Chain Gun, an automatic weapon that ignites enemies on repeated impacts. Volatile Chain Gun, an automatic weapon that deals critical damage to burning enemies. Overrun. Charges forward and stomps the ground, launching enemies into the air at the edge of the stomp and knocking down enemies who are close. Mauga is immune to crowd control while charging. Cardiac Overdrive. Mauga and nearby allies take reduced damage and heal from dealing damage. Cage Fight. Deploys a barrier that traps himself and enemies. Automatically reloads Mauga's chain guns at the start of the ultimate. Playstyle. Mauga excels at aggressive close-range brawling, using his overrun to position. Strengths. High damage, consistent ranged damage, and strong sustain. Weaknesses. Struggles against long-range poke, vulnerable to anti-healing. Best composition, Brawl, with heroes like Kiriko or Mei to help engage and sustain. Counters. D.Va, who can defense matrix his damage during Cardiac Overdrive, snipers like Widowmaker who can pressure him from a distance, or Ana because she has an anti-heal. Difficulty, easy. His success relies on aggressive positioning or long-range poke and using his abilities to maintain offensive momentum. Orisa. Originally a peacekeeping robot, Orisa was rebuilt by young inventor Ify Oladel to serve as the protector of Numbani. Abilities. Augmented Fusion Driver. Automatic heat-based weapon. Fortify. Gains temporary health, reduces damage taken, grants crowd control immunity, and prevents her from being headshot. This makes her incredibly durable in critical moments. Javelin Spin. Orisa spins a javelin in front of her, destroying projectiles, increasing move speed, and pushes back enemies, providing both offense and defense. Energy Javelin. Throws a javelin that stuns and deals damage. It is more effective if the enemy hits a wall. Terra Surge Ultimate. Orisa gains the effects of Fortify, pulls in enemies, and charges up a powerful AoE attack. Playstyle. Orisa is a strong frontline anchor, providing consistent damage and crowd control while absorbing massive damage. Strengths. High durability, effective in long range and close combat. Weaknesses. Struggles against high mobility dive heroes. Best composition, Poke, where she can consistently fire from a distance while sustaining herself. Counters. High mobility heroes like Winston, Genji, and Lucio who can avoid her abilities. Difficulty, easy. The challenge comes from positioning and rotating her abilities effectively. Ramattra. The former Shambali monk now leads Null Sector in a war against humanity, using his immense power to liberate his people. Abilities. Void Accelerator, Omnic Form. Fires a stream of projectiles. Void Barrier, Omnic Form. Creates a barrier at target location. Ravenous Vortex. Creates an AoE slow field that pulls enemies downwards, restricting mobility and making targets easier to hit. Nemesis Form. Transforms into a powerful brawler, gaining armor and access to pummel and block, enabling an aggressive playstyle. Pummel. In Nemesis form, Ramattra's fist projects shockwaves in front of him that pierce through enemies and shields. Power Block. Significantly reduces damage taken from the front and reduces movement speed. Annihilation Ultimate. Enters or extends Nemesis form with a swirling nanite field that deals continuous damage to enemies in range. The ultimate lasts longer when damaging enemies. Playstyle. Ramattra switches between long-range poke and close-range brawling, adapting to the situation. Strengths. Versatile and strong in both poke and brawl situations. Weaknesses. Vulnerable in his Omnic form when caught out of position. Best composition, hybrid of poke and brawl, able to adapt based on the team's needs. Counters. Zarya can absorb the damage from his best abilities, and long-range hit scan like Ashe can whittle him down in Omnic form. Ana can sleep him during his ultimate. Difficulty, easy. Mastery comes from knowing when to switch forms and managing cooldowns effectively. Reinhardt. Reinhardt is a knightly figure, an honorable German soldier who fights to uphold justice with his massive hammer and protective shield. Abilities. Rocket Hammer. Reinhardt's melee weapon deals heavy damage in a wide arc, making him dangerous in close-range combat. Barrier Field. Reinhardt carries a large shield that protects him and his teammates from incoming damage. Charge. Reinhardt charges forward, pinning enemies he hits into walls, dealing significant damage and often securing kills. Fire Strike. Reinhardt throws a fiery projectile in a straight line, dealing damage to all enemies it passes through. Earth Shatter Ultimate. Reinhardt slams his hammer down, knocking enemies to the ground in a large cone in front of him, setting up easy follow-up attacks. Playstyle. Reinhardt is a frontline tank who excels in brawling, protecting his team with his shield, and leading the charge. Strengths. Strong crowd control, shield for team protection, great in close quarters combat. Weaknesses. Melee character and lacks mobility when not charging. Best composition, Brawl, with heroes like Lucio and Reaper. Counters, heroes who can easily break his shield like Mauga, Bastion, or Zenyatta. Difficulty, medium. Mastering positioning and shield management is crucial for optimal play. Roadhog. Roadhog is a ruthless enforcer and killer from the Australian outback, known for his brutality and indifference towards life. Abilities. Scrap Gun. A short-range shotgun that deals massive damage up close with a medium-range shrapnel volley. Pigpen. Throws out a trap that slows and damages enemies caught in its radius. Chain Hook. Throws a hook that pulls an enemy towards him, setting up a point-blank scrap gun shot for devastating combos with Pigpen. Take a Breather. Heals himself on a resource meter and reduces damage taken while healing, giving him high survivability. Whole Hog. Ultimate. Unleashes a stream of scrap metal, knocking back enemies and dealing continuous damage. Playstyle. Roadhog is a brawler who focuses on picking off isolated enemies with his hook combo and soaking damage with his self-heal. Strength. High self-sustain, can eliminate squishy targets with ease. Weaknesses. No shield or armor, vulnerable to long-range poke. Best composition, works well in hybrid comps, creating picks in poke or brawl. Counters. D.Va can defense matrix hook to allies, and as Biotic Grenade can shut down his heal, and ranged heroes like Sojourn can pressure him from afar. Difficulty, easy. Timing of chain hook and positioning are key to making impactful plays. Sigma. A brilliant astrophysicist who was exposed to a black hole experiment gone wrong, Sigma manipulates gravity to control the battlefield. Abilities. Hyperspheres. Launches 2 implosive orbs that deal AoE damage and bounce off surfaces, rewarding precise aim. Kinetic Grasp. Absorbs incoming projectiles and converts them into shields, providing temporary protection. Accretion. Throws a rock at enemies, dealing damage and knocking them down briefly, useful for interrupting ultimates or pushing back threats. Experimental Barrier. Deploys a floating shield that can be recalled and repositioned at will, allowing Sigma to control sightlines and space. Gravitic Flux. Ultimate. Lifts enemies into the air before slamming them down, dealing significant damage. Playstyle. Sigma is a mid-range poke tank who excels at controlling space and blocking damage while contributing consistent damage himself. Strengths. Versatile barrier, crowd control, and strong poke damage. Weaknesses. No mobility, struggles against fast compositions. Best composition, poke, with long-range heroes like Hanzo or Baptiste. Counters. Heroes like Reinhardt, Tracer, and Juno who can bypass his shield and pressure him. Difficulty, hard. Requires good timing with shield placement and ability management. Winston. Winston is a genetically enhanced gorilla and brilliant scientist who fights to restore peace and bring back Overwatch. Abilities. Tesla Cannon. Fires a short-range electric beam that hits multiple enemies, making it effective in dealing consistent damage without needing precise aim. Tesla Cannon Alt Fire. Charges up a focused medium-range electric zap. Jump Pack. Allows Winston to leap great distances, dealing damage on landing and positioning himself to disrupt enemy backlines. Barrier Projector. Deploys a bubble shield that blocks enemy fire while allowing Winston and his allies to shoot through it, providing cover during dives. Primal Rage Ultimate. Winston gains massive health and enhanced melee attacks but can only leap and punch enemies. Playstyle. Winston is a dive tank, designed to jump onto high-value targets and disrupt the enemy team. Strengths. Has high mobility, AoE damage, and is excellent at disrupting backlines. Weaknesses. Relatively low health and single target damage. Best composition. Dive. Paired with high mobility heroes like Echo or Kiriko. Counters. Characters with high burst damage or healing like Reaper, Roadhog, or Moira who can punish him when he dives in. Difficulty, hard. Requires good target priority and skillful use of abilities to survive. Wrecking Ball. Hammond, a genetically enhanced hamster from Horizon Lunar Colony, pilots a spherical mech rolling through battlefields and causing chaos. Abilities. Quad Cannons, fires twin machine guns effective at medium range. Roll. Wrecking Ball turns into a ball, drastically increasing his movement speed and allowing for rapid repositioning. Grappling Claw. Launches a grappling hook that lets him swing around the battlefield, gaining speed. Upon impact, he knocks back and damages enemies. Adaptive Shield. Generates temporary shields based on the number of nearby enemies, improving his survivability. Some of the shields can be transferred to nearby allies. Pile Driver. Slams into the ground to deal damage and launch enemies into the air. Minefield Ultimate. Deploys a field of proximity mines that deal massive damage, ideal for area denial or disrupting objectives. Playstyle. Wrecking Ball excels in mobility, diving in and out of fights while creating chaos and disrupting enemy formations. Strengths. Extreme mobility, strong crowd control, and area denial with Minefield. Weaknesses. Vulnerable when focused down, weak sustain outside of adaptive shield. Best composition, dive with high mobility heroes like Sombra and Lucio. Counters. Crowd control like Roadhog's hook, Sombra, hack disables his mobility, or Brig who can whip shot him away. Difficulty, hard. Wrecking Ball is a mechanically demanding hero, requiring strict timing to have impact. Zarya. A former weightlifting champion, Zarya fights to defend her homeland using a powerful particle cannon with her energy shields. Abilities. Particle Cannon. Fires a short-range beam of energy. Particle Cannon Alt-Fire. Fires an energy grenade in an arc. Energy. Damage blocked by Zarya's barriers increases Zarya's weapon damage. Particle Barrier. Projects a personal shield around Zarya, absorbing damage and increasing her weapon's power. Projected Barrier. Grants a shield to an ally, absorbing damage and boosting Zarya's charge. Graviton Surge Ultimate. Launches a gravity bomb that pulls in enemies, immobilizing them for easy follow-up damage from her team. Playstyle. Zarya is a brawling tank who gains power by protecting herself and teammates, becoming a deadly force when fully charged. Strengths. High damage potential when fully charged, a strong crowd control ultimate. Weaknesses. Requires good timing on shields to reach max charge, vulnerable without energy. Best composition, Brawl, especially with close-range heroes like Reaper or Lucio for his speed boost. Counters. Heroes with barriers like Winston reduce her damage potential, long-range heroes like Widowmaker can poke her down from range, and Lifeweaver can lift teammates out of her ultimate with his pedal. Difficulty, easy. Mastery comes from managing charge and timing barriers to absorb maximum damage. Ashe. A respected figure in the criminal underworld, Ashe leads the Deadlock gang, using her sharpshooting skills and explosives to cause chaos. Abilities. The Viper. A semi-automatic rifle that can fire from the hip for quick shots. The Viper ADS. Can aim down sights to increase damage and accuracy but slows fire rate. Dynamite. Throws an explosive that detonates after a short time or can be shot to explode early, dealing damage over time. Coach Gun. Fires a blast that knocks Ashe and enemies back, giving Ashe mobility or spacing when needed. Bob Ultimate. Ashe summons her Omnic sidekick Bob, who charges forward, knocking enemies into the air and acting as a temporary turret. Playstyle. Ashe excels at mid to long range, using her rifle for precise shots and her dynamite to disrupt and damage groups of enemies. Strengths. Strong poke damage, excellent AoE damage with dynamite, and her ultimate is a lethal threat. Weaknesses. Vulnerable to dive, and Coach Gun has a long cooldown. Best composition, Poke, where she can fire from a safe distance. Works well with heroes like Sigma and Mercy. Counters. Dive heroes like Winston, Genji, or Lucio can pressure Ashe if she's caught without Coach Gun. Difficulty, medium. Ashe's success depends on aiming and managing her cooldowns effectively. Bastion. Once a frontline Omnic soldier, Bastion is now a peace-seeking robot who has rejoined the battle, transforming between modes to devastate enemies. Abilities. Ironclad. Takes reduced damage while transformed. Configuration, Recon. Bastion's more mobile mode, where he fires a lightweight machine gun. Reconfigure. Allows Bastion to switch between weapon configuration. Configuration Assault. Transforms into a slow-moving tank with a powerful rotary gun, greatly increasing his firepower and giving him high damage output at the cost of mobility. A36 Tactical Grenade. Fires a bouncing grenade that explodes on contact with enemies or ground, useful for area denial or burst damage. Configuration Artillery Ultimate. Bastion locks into place and launches up to 3 artillery strikes anywhere on the map. Playstyle. Bastion excels at outputting massive damage and melting targets when in assault form. Strengths. High sustained damage in assault mode and strong burst potential with his grenade and ultimate. Weaknesses. Vulnerable without his reconfigure cooldown. Best composition, Brawl or Poke, where he can stay near tanks like Reinhardt or Sigma for protection. Counters. Heroes who can negate his damage when in assault form, like D.Va, Genji, or Baptiste. Difficulty, easy. Bastion is powerful in the right situations, but requires good timing of his abilities to avoid being overwhelmed. Cassidy. A former outlaw turned hero, Cassidy uses his trusty revolver and combat skills to uphold justice. Abilities. Peacekeeper. Cassidy's 6-shooter revolver can fire single, accurate, and powerful shots. Peacekeeper. Alt-Fire. Inaccurately fires the remaining rounds in his Peacekeeper. Flashbang. Throws a grenade that hinders enemies caught in the explosion, slowing them and preventing them from using movement abilities. Combat Roll. Cassidy rolls in the direction he's moving, allowing for quick repositioning. This reloads his weapon instantly and gives him damage reduction. Deadeye. Ultimate. Cassidy locks onto enemies, then fires shots that deal massive damage based on how long he's locked on, ideal for wiping out multiple foes. Playstyle. Cassidy is a mid-range DPS who excels at burst damage and taking out squishy targets. Strengths. Strong burst damage, great dueling potential, and strong kit with crowd control and defensive options. Weaknesses. Limited mobility compared to other DPS and can struggle against long-range poke. Best composition, Brawl, or hybrid comps, where Cassidy can get close to targets. Counters. Characters with long range or outplay potential like Roadhog, Widowmaker, or Ana. Difficulty, medium. Cassidy's strength lies in accuracy and timing his abilities to secure kills. Echo. An adaptable robot, Echo can mimic enemy heroes and quickly change the course of battle with her versatile kit. Abilities. Glide. Can slowly fall to glide around the battlefield. Tri-Shot. Fires 3 energy shots in a triangular spread, providing consistent damage. Sticky Bombs. Launches a volley of bombs that stick to surfaces or enemies, dealing burst damage after a short delay. Flight. Echo flies forward quickly and can then free fly briefly, allowing her to reposition quickly and stay airborne during fights. Focusing Beam. Channels a beam that deals massive damage to targets below 50% health, making it a deadly finisher. Duplicate. Ultimate. Echo copies an enemy hero, gaining access to their abilities and can build their ultimate quickly. The enemy copied cannot switch heroes for the duration. Playstyle. Echo is highly mobile, excelling at poking enemies from mid-range and finishing off weakened foes with Focusing Beam. Strengths. Extreme versatility with her ultimate, high mobility, and strong burst damage. Weaknesses. Vulnerable to hit-scan heroes and has a steep learning curve with her ultimate. Best composition, Dive, as her mobility allows her to keep up with fast-moving allies. Counters. Hit-scan heroes like Soldier 76 and Illari. Difficulty, Hard. Echo requires strong positioning and adaptability with her Duplicate ultimate. Genji. Once a member of the Symmetra clan, Genji was nearly killed by his brother Hanzo, but was saved and enhanced by Overwatch, becoming a deadly cybernetic ninja. Abilities. Cyber Agility. Allows Genji to climb on walls and double jump. Shuriken. Fires 3 shurikens in a straight line, allowing for long-range poke. Shuriken Alt-Fire. Fires 3 shurikens in a fan spread, allowing for lethal burst damage. Deflect. Reflects incoming projectiles in the direction you are aiming and blocks melee attacks, offering protection and a counterattack. Swift Strike. Genji dashes forward, slashing enemies in his path. If Genji scores a kill, the cooldown is reset, allowing for quick multi-kills. Dragon Blade Ultimate. Unsheathes his sword, slashing enemies in melee range with high burst damage for a short duration. Playstyle. Genji is a highly mobile assassin who excels at flanking, diving into the backline, and taking out squishy targets. Strengths. High mobility, great dueling potential, and the ability to reset a cooldown with kills. Weaknesses. Struggles against strong crowd control and healing, as well as high burst damage. Best composition, Dive, where he can coordinate with heroes like Winston or Tracer. Counters. Heroes like Zarya, Mei, or Moira can hurt Genji through Deflect. Difficulty, Hard. Genji requires precise aim, timing, and good decision-making to maximize his impact. Hanzo. Once a criminal leader, Hanzo has turned his life around, seeking redemption by using his mastery of the bow to defend the innocent. Abilities. Wall Climb. Allows Hanzo to jump at walls to climb them. Storm Bow. A powerful bow that fires arrows at varying charge levels, capable of dealing high burst damage at long range. Sonic Arrow. Reveals enemies in a small area, granting vision to his team. Storm Arrows. The next 5 arrows ricochet and fire instantly without the need to charge, but do reduced damage. Lunge. Gives Hanzo a horizontal double jump. Dragon Strike Ultimate. Summons a pair of dragons that travel in a straight line, passing through walls and dealing massive AoE damage. Playstyle. Hanzo excels at long-range damage and can provide vision for his team, making him a potent sniper with burst damage potential. Strengths. High damage potential, utility with Sonic Arrow, and an ultimate that can decimate grouped enemies. Weaknesses. Vulnerable in close-range combat and to dive heroes. Best composition, Poke, where he can play from a distance and capitalize on sightlines. Counters, dive heroes like Doomfist, Sombra, and Lucio can shut down Hanzo quickly. Difficulty, Medium. Hanzo's success depends on positioning and accuracy, but his kit is fairly simple. Junkrat. A former demolitionist and criminal from Australia, Junkrat thrives in causing chaos with his explosives. Abilities. Total Mayhem. Junkrat's explosions do not hurt him, and when he dies, he drops bombs. Frag Launcher. Fires bouncing grenades that explode on contact, dealing AoE damage. Concussion Mine. Throws a mine that can be detonated remotely, dealing damage and knocking back enemies or propelling Junkrat through the air. Steel Trap. Sets a trap that immobilizes an enemy when stepped on, leaving them vulnerable to follow-up damage. Rip Tire Ultimate. Deploys a remote-controlled explosive tire that Junkrat can steer into enemies, detonating for massive damage. Playstyle. Junkrat excels at area control and choke points, using his grenades and traps to deny space and deal high burst damage. Strengths. Strong AoE damage, excellent zoning potential, and a deadly ultimate. Weaknesses. Struggles in open spaces and against long-range heroes. Best composition, Brawl, where Junkrat can take advantage of tight spaces and close-range engagements. Counters. Heroes with high mobility or range like Pharah or Mercy can avoid his explosives and pressure him from above. Zarya can easily gain charge from Junkrat's spam playstyle. Difficulty, easy. Junkrat's damage is forgiving and requires less precise aim, though positioning is key to maximizing his value. Mei. A scientist who specializes in climate manipulation, Mei uses her invention to chill enemies and control the battlefield. Abilities. Endothermic Blaster. A short-range beam that slows enemies. Endothermic Blaster Alt-Fire. Fires long-range icicles that do significant damage. Cryo Freeze. Encases Mei in ice, healing her and making her immune to damage for a short time. Ice Wall. Creates a large wall of ice that can block enemy movement or block incoming attacks, allowing Mei to control space. Blizzard Ultimate. Summons a snowstorm that freezes enemies in a large area, making them vulnerable to follow-up damage. Playstyle. Mei excels at controlling the battlefield, slowing enemies and creating obstacles with her wall to disrupt the enemy. Strengths. Strong crowd control, zone denial, and self-sustain with cryo freeze. Weaknesses. Loses to consistent poke damage and has little to no mobility. Best composition, Brawl, where Mei can use her freeze and wall to isolate enemies. Counters. Heroes who can avoid her wall or pick her off from afar like Winston, Ashe, or Kiriko. Difficulty, medium. Mei's utility and survivability make her forgiving, but mastering her wall placement requires good decision-making. You can easily hurt your team more than help them with poor wall placement. Pharah. An Egyptian security chief, Pharah uses her combat skills and advanced Raptora suit to soar through the skies, raining destruction from above. Abilities. Hover jets. Pharah can hover and freely fly, using fuel as a resource that regenerates while on the ground. Rocket launcher. Fires slow-moving rockets that deal high AoE damage on impact, making Pharah effective at poking from a distance or lethal in close quarters. Jet dash. Boosts horizontally. Concussive Blast. Fires a small explosive that knocks enemies away, giving Pharah the ability to displace or disrupt enemy positioning. Jump Jet. Launches Pharah into the air and grants some fuel, allowing Pharah to stay airborne for longer. Barrage. Ultimate. Unleashes a rapid barrage of rockets in a concentrated area, dealing massive damage to grouped enemies. Playstyle. Pharah excels at aerial combat using vertical mobility to control high ground and apply pressure from above with splash damage. Strengths. Strong poke damage, great aerial mobility, and a great displacement tool. Weaknesses. Vulnerable to hit-scan heroes like Soldier 76 or Cassidy. Best composition, poke or dive, paired with Mercy or Zenyatta where she can operate safely in the air. Counters. Characters that can easily pressure Pharah out of the sky like D.Va, Echo, or Illari. Difficulty, medium. Managing fuel and positioning in the air while avoiding counters is key to success. Reaper. Once a soldier of Overwatch, Reaper is now a vengeful wraith, hunting his enemies with deadly shotguns and the ability to phase in and out of combat. Abilities. The Reaping. Dealing damage heals Reaper. Hellfire Shotguns. Reaper's shotguns deal massive damage at close range, shredding through tanks and squishy targets alike. Wraith Form. Turns Reaper into an invulnerable wraith, allowing him to escape danger or reposition, but he cannot shoot while in this form. Shadow Step. Teleports to a targeted location. Death Blossom. Ultimate. Reaper spins in place, dealing massive AoE damage to all nearby enemies. Playstyle. Reaper excels in close-range combat, whether that's flanking into the backline to take out supports or shredding tanks. Strengths. High damage at close range, self-healing from damage dealt, and a strong escape tool in Wraith form. Weaknesses. Struggles against long-range poke and has limited mobility outside of Shadow Step. Best composition, Brawl, where he can stay close to tanks and engage at close range. Counters. D.Va can fly away or use Defense Matrix to soak Reaper's damage, Ashe can poke him down from afar, and Zenyatta's ultimate completely negates Reaper's. Difficulty, easy. Reaper's kit is simple but requires good positioning and timing to maximize his effectiveness. Sojourn. A former Overwatch captain with cybernetic enhancements, Sojourn combines precision targeting with high-tech railgun weaponry to decimate enemies. Abilities. Railgun. Fires rapid projectiles, landing shots, stores energy. Railgun Alt-Fire. A high-impact shot that consumes the stored energy created by her primary fire, pierces enemies. Disruptor Shot. Launches an energy field that slows and damages enemies caught inside, useful for forcing enemies out of cover. Power Slide. A quick slide that lets Sojourn reposition or engage rapidly. She can cancel the slide with a high jump for added mobility. Overclock Ultimate. Automatically charges her railgun's secondary fire, allowing her to fire multiple charged shots without needing to land primary fire hits. Playstyle. Sojourn excels in mid to long range combat with her versatile kit, combining mobility with precision burst damage. Strengths. High burst potential with charged railgun shots and strong zone control with disruptor shot. Weaknesses: reliant on hitting charged shots for maximum damage output, vulnerable without charge or power slide. Best composition: poke, where she can safely deal sustained damage from a distance and land charged shots. Counters: dive heroes like D.Va, Genji, or Lucio can pressure her before she can charge her shots. Difficulty: hard. Sojourn's damage output relies on landing precise shots with the railgun, which requires strong aim and the ability to switch between hit scan and projectiles. Soldier 76. A former Overwatch commander, Soldier 76 now fights from the shadows using his advanced military training and weaponry to hunt down enemies. Abilities: Heavy Pulse Rifle. Soldier's automatic rifle deals consistent damage at mid-range, making him reliable for sustained damage output. Helix Rockets. Fires a small rocket that explodes on impact, dealing burst damage in a small area. Sprint. Soldier runs faster while moving forward. Biotic Field. Deploys a healing field that heals Soldier and nearby allies, providing sustain in fights. Tactical Visor. Ultimate. Automatically locks Soldier's aim onto enemies, ensuring every shot hits its mark for a short duration. Playstyle. Soldier 76 is a versatile, all-around DPS who can poke from a distance, sustain himself in fights, and contribute burst damage. Strengths: high mobility, self-sustain, and reliable damage at various ranges. Weaknesses: vulnerable to high burst damage, heroes with more range, and can struggle to secure kills. Best composition: poke, where he can consistently pressure the enemy from mid-range. Counters: dive heroes like Doomfist, Tracer, and Lucio who can quickly close the distance and overwhelm him. Difficulty: easy. Soldier is a straightforward and beginner-friendly hero, but tactical positioning is key for advanced play. Sombra. A former hacker turned mercenary, Sombra manipulates information and technology to disrupt their enemies, making her a master of sabotage. Abilities: stealth. Sombra becomes invisible and gains increased movement speed while out of combat. Machine Pistol. Sombra's short-range automatic weapon deals consistent damage in close quarters. Hack. Disables enemies' abilities and reveals them through walls for a short time, disrupting critical enemy actions. Hack health packs spawn faster and can't be used by enemies. Virus. Infects enemies with a projectile that deals damage over time. Virus deals damage at a faster rate to hacked targets. Translocator. Throws a beacon that Sombra teleports to, giving her incredible mobility and escape options. Stealth's cooldown is also reduced after teleporting. EMP Ultimate. Sombra releases a powerful EMP. It deals damage to all enemies near her based on their current health, hacks them, and destroys enemy barriers around Sombra. Playstyle. Sombra excels at disrupting the enemy team, hacking key targets, and shutting down ultimates or abilities. Strengths: high mobility, strong utility with hack and EMP. Weaknesses: lower damage output compared to other DPS, and reliant on team coordination to maximize effectiveness. Best composition: dive, where she can flank and disable key targets for her team to dive on. Counters: area denial heroes like Mei, Torbjörn, and Brigitte. Playing close together and looking out for Sombra is the best way to counter her. Difficulty: easy. Sombra's effectiveness depends on timing, but her stealth and translocator make her a very forgiving hero. Symmetra. A hard-light architect, Symmetra manipulates reality with her photon technology, creating shields, teleporters, and deadly beams of energy. Abilities: Photon Projector. A beam weapon that deals increasing damage the longer it stays on an enemy. Photon Projector, Alt-Fire. Charges and fires an explosive orb. Sentry Turret. Deploys a small turret that slows and damages enemies, useful for area denial or controlling choke points. Enemies damaged by the turrets can be seen through walls. Teleporter. Creates a teleporter that can instantly transport allies, providing rapid repositioning. Photon Barrier Ultimate. Deploys a massive barrier that spans the entire map, blocking enemy fire and splitting the battlefield. Playstyle. Symmetra excels at area control and creating opportunities for her team with her teleporters and barriers. Strengths: strong at controlling choke points, high burst damage when her beam is fully charged, and great utility with her ultimate. Weaknesses: poor range and requires setup to be most effective. Best composition: Brawl, where she can set up turrets and teleporters in close range engagements. Counters: heroes that outrange her like Orisa, Sojourn, and Juno. Difficulty: easy. Symmetra requires strategic turret placement and smart teleporter usage to be effective. Torbjörn. A brilliant engineer, Torb uses his mechanical prowess to build a turret that defends his team from threats. Abilities: Rivet Gun. Fires molten rivets at enemies, dealing consistent damage at mid-range. Rivet Gun Alt-Fire. Fires a shotgun-like spread at close range. Deploy Turret. Places an automated turret that fires at enemies, providing constant pressure or defense. Forge Hammer. a hammer that can be used to repair Torb's turret or deal damage to enemies. Overload gains overhealth as well as improved attack, movement, and reload speed for a brief period. Molten Core Ultimate fires a pool of molten slag that deals massive damage over time and deals extra damage to armor, useful for area denial or zoning enemies off of objectives. Playstyle: Torbjörn excels at setting up defenses with his turret and applying pressure with his consistent damage and overload ability. Strengths: great area control with his turret and ultimate, strong burst damage with overload, and durable. Weaknesses: vulnerable to long-range poke and has limited mobility. Best composition: brawl or poke, where Torbjörn can control choke points and hold the ground. Counters: heroes who can damage Torbjörn outside of his turret's range, like Orisa, Widowmaker, and Ana. Difficulty: easy. Torbjörn's effectiveness depends on turret placement and knowing when to use overload for survivability. Tracer: a former test pilot, Tracer can manipulate time, allowing her to blink around the battlefield and rewind damage. Abilities: pulse pistols. Tracer's dual pistols deal rapid-fire damage at close range, making her deadly in short bursts. Blink: Tracer teleports a short distance in the direction she is moving, giving her extreme mobility to dodge attacks or engage enemies. Recall: rewinds Tracer's ammo, position, and health to where she was a few seconds ago, allowing her to escape danger or undo mistakes. Pulse Bomb Ultimate throws a small explosive that sticks to surfaces and enemies, dealing massive burst damage in an area. Playstyle: Tracer excels at flanking and harassing the enemy backline, using her mobility to pick off supports and squishy targets. Strengths: high mobility, great burst damage, and the ability to quickly disengage. Weaknesses: extremely low health, making her vulnerable to crowd control or burst damage. Best composition: dive, where she can work with other mobile heroes like Winton or Genji. Counters: heroes like Roadhog, Cassidy, or Brigitte can lock down and punish her low health pool. Difficulty: hard. Tracer's low health and reliance on positioning and mobility make her one of the most challenging heroes to play effectively. Venture: a member of the Wayfinder Society, Venture is a globe-trotting archaeologist and explorer who loves to solve mysteries. They protect artifacts and archaeological sites from criminals. Abilities: Clobber. Venture's melee does more damage. Explorer's Resolve. Using abilities grants temporary shields. Smart Excavator. Launches a small charge with limited range that bursts in a small AoE. Burrow. Burrows underground, becomes invulnerable, able to move around the battlefield and emerge to deal damage. Drill Dash. Dashes forward and pushes enemies back while above ground or burrowed. While underground, the cooldown is accelerated. Tectonic Shock Ultimate. Venture slams their drill into the ground to send out damaging shockwaves. Playstyle: Venture focuses on weaving in and out of the fight, using their damage to burst down enemies, and Drill Dash to force enemies out of position. Strengths: high burst damage, great stall with burrow, and fantastic crowd control. Weaknesses: has poor range and is susceptible to crowd control. Best composition: brawl, where Venture can get within range of enemies with heroes like Reinhardt or Lucio. Counters: heroes who can outrange or lock them down like Roadhog, Cassidy, and Ana. Difficulty: easy. Venture requires good cooldown management and timing to get value, but is a straightforward hero. Widowmaker. Once a loving wife, Widowmaker was reprogrammed by talent into a cold-blooded assassin specializing in long-range sniping. Abilities: Widow's Kiss. An automatic assault weapon good for close-range combat. Widow's Kiss, aim down sights. Aiming down sights allows Widowmaker to charge a powerful sniper shot. Fully charged critical shots deal massive damage. Grappling Hook. Launches a grappling hook that pulls Widowmaker toward it. This allows Widowmaker to reposition quickly and reach unique angles. Venom Mine. Places a poison trap that damages and reveals enemies when triggered, useful for controlling flanks or warning Widowmaker of approaching threats. Infrasight Ultimate. Reveals all enemies through walls and obstacles for a short time for Widowmaker and all of her allies. Playstyle: Widowmaker excels at long-range picks, using her sniper to eliminate key targets from afar and controlling the battlefield from high ground. Strengths: one-shot potential with charged headshots, excellent map control, and intel gathering with Infrasight. Weaknesses: vulnerable at close range and heavily reliant on aim and positioning. Best composition: poke, where she can pick off enemies from a distance without needing to engage in close-range fights. Counters: dive heroes like Winton, Sombra, and Zenyatta can quickly close the gap or eliminate her before she can act. Difficulty: hard. Widowmaker's effectiveness is highly dependent on precise aim and positioning, making her one of the more challenging heroes to master. Ana Amari, a founding member of Overwatch, is a battle-hardened sniper who uses her skills to protect and heal from a distance. Abilities: Biotic Rifle. Ana's sniper rifle heals allies and damages enemies with accurate shots, allowing her to heal from long range. Biotic Grenade. an AoE projectile that heals allies and increases their healing received while damaging and preventing enemies from being healed for a short duration. Sleep Dart fires a dart that puts enemies to sleep for several seconds, making it a strong tool for shutting down dangerous threats or ultimates. Nano Boost ultimate boosts an ally's damage and reduces incoming damage, making them significantly stronger for a short time. Playstyle. Ana is a long-range healer who excels in supporting from the backline while disabling key enemies. Strengths: strong utility, great healing output, and a powerful anti-heal tool. Weaknesses: vulnerable to dive heroes and requires precision. Best composition: any. Ana is a versatile hero who can work with almost any team. Counters: dive heroes like Winston, Genji, and Lucio can pressure Ana heavily. Difficulty: hard. Her utility is powerful, but it requires precise aim and timing to use effectively. Baptiste. Once a soldier of Talon, Baptiste turned against his former allies and now uses his skills as a combat medic to save lives. Abilities: Exo Boots. Holding crouch allows Baptiste to jump higher. Biotic Launcher. A 3-round burst hit scan weapon, Biotic Launcher alt fire. Launches an AoE healing grenade, allowing Baptiste to heal and damage simultaneously. Regenerative Burst. Provides instant and AoE healing over time to Baptiste and his nearby allies. Great for sustaining through burst damage because this instant healing is doubled for targets with less than half health. Immortality Field. Deploys a destructible device that prevents allies from dying, keeping their health above a critical threshold for a short time, making it one of the most impactful cooldowns in the game. Amplification Matrix Ultimate. Creates a field that doubles the damage and healing of any projectiles that pass through it. Playstyle. Baptiste plays from afar, dishing out damage and keeping his team alive while controlling the high ground. Strengths: strong burst healing, consistent damage, and life-saving utility. Weaknesses: requires good positioning, and his immortality field is on a long cooldown. Best composition: poke or brawl, with teams that can take advantage of his AoE healing. Counters: heroes who are mobile or who can outpoke him, such as Winston, Tracer, or Illari. Difficulty: hard. Baptiste is a mechanically demanding hero with abilities that are easily punished if used poorly. Brigitte. The squire-turned-fighter, Brigitte fights alongside her allies with a mix of melee combat and healing, following in her godfather Reinhardt's footsteps. Abilities: Inspire. Dealing damage to enemies heals nearby allies in a radius around Brigitte. Rocket Flail. Brigitte's melee weapon, dealing damage in a wide arc. Repair Pack. Tosses a homing pack to allies that heals them over time. Whip Shot. Launches her flail forward, knocking back enemies, making it a fantastic crowd control tool. Barrier Shield. A small shield that can block damage for Brigitte and anyone behind her. Shield Bash. While Barrier Shield is active, Brig can dash forward to knock back an enemy. Rally Ultimate. Grants Brigitte additional armor and nearby allies overhealth. Brigitte moves faster and her shield is enhanced, making Barrier Shield larger and giving it more health. And Shield Bash can now impact multiple enemies, stunning all enemies hit. Playstyle. Brigitte excels in Brawl, providing healing and crowd control while staying close to her team. Strengths: great at close range healing, high survivability, and strong crowd control. Weaknesses: limited range, and the majority of her healing is not guaranteed. Best compositions: Brawl, with tanks like Reinhardt or Zarya. Counters: ranged poke, like Orisa, Pharah, or Ana. Difficulty: medium. Brigitte's playstyle revolves around staying with her team and keeping Inspire active. Illari. Illari is a highly skilled combat medic, and the last member of the Inti Warriors, a solar cult who uses solar energy to heal and damage enemies. Abilities: Solar Rifle, an auto-charging rifle that fires precise energy shots. Solar Rifle Alt Fire, a medium-range beam that heals allies consuming solar energy. Healing Pylon. Deploys a pylon that heals nearby allies over time, passively supporting the team while Illari focuses on dealing damage. Outburst. A mobility tool that propels Illari in the direction she's moving and knocks back enemies, helping her reposition quickly and keep enemies at a distance. Captive Sun Ultimate. Illari fires an explosive ball of solar energy. Enemies are slowed and explode after taking enough damage. Playstyle. Illari is a hybrid healer who provides both burst damage and sustained healing, excelling in mid-range engagements. Strengths: solid mobility, passive healing with pylon, and strong precision damage. Weaknesses. Healing is less reliable compared to pure support heroes, and her pylon can be destroyed easily if misplaced. Best composition, Poke, where she can maintain distance, safely place her pylon, and provide damage. Counters. Mobile heroes that can reach her and destroy her pylon like D.Va, Sombra, and Juno. Difficulty, medium. Positioning, managing her pylon, and damage are crucial to playing her effectively. Juno. Juno is a multilingual Martian born on Mars who must return to Earth to tell the world that Mars is too dangerous to terraform. Abilities. Martian Overboots. Juno can double jump and hover for a slow descent. Mediblaster. A burst fire weapon that can heal allies or damage enemies. Pulsar Torpedoes. Initiate a lock-on system that targets both enemies and allies, then fires homing projectiles, damaging enemies and healing allies. Glide Boots. Juno can glide horizontally with increased movement speed, giving Juno great mobility. Hyper Ring. Creates a ring at targeted location that increases the movement speed of all allies that pass through it for a short time. Orbital Ray. Ultimate. Calls down an orbital ray that slowly travels forward. Any allies in the ray are healed and do more damage. Playstyle. Juno is a vertically focused mobile hero that can heal from range and support her team through her Hyper Ring and Great Burst Healing. Strengths. Strong burst healing, great mobility, speed utility. Weaknesses. Mobility is limited and can be predictable if used poorly, vulnerable without cooldowns. Best compositions, dive or brawl, where her team can make good use of her speed boost. Counters. Heroes with crowd control like Ramattra who can ground her with his vortex, Cassidy with his nade, or heroes who shoot her out of the air like Illari. Difficulty, medium. Success depends on positioning well and timing abilities appropriately. Kiriko. Kiriko is a spiritual healer and protector from Kanezaka, combining healing practices with ninja techniques to aid her team. Abilities. Wall climb. Can jump at walls to climb them. Healing of Fura. Throws talismans that seek out and heal allies, allowing her to heal from a distance. Kunai. A precise projectile, making Kiriko a dangerous threat in skilled hands. Swift Step. Teleports instantly to an ally. She can teleport through walls or other obstacles as long as the ally is within range. Protection Suzu. Throws a protective charm that cleanses negative effects and provides brief invulnerability to allies, making it a game-changing ability for countering ultimates and status effects. Kitsune Rush. Ultimate. Summons a fox spirit that grants allies increased movement speed, fire rate, and ability cooldown reduction in a straight line, making it a powerful initiation tool. Playstyle. Kiriko excels at darting in and out of combat, providing healing and utility while also delivering precise damage. Strengths. High mobility, amazing duelist, and game-saving utility with Suzu. Weaknesses. Her damage output can be inconsistent, and she's vulnerable without cooldowns. Best composition, dive, where her mobility and healing can be used to keep up with fast-moving heroes. Counters. Heroes with crowd control, such as Mei or Roadhog, who can disrupt Kiriko's mobility. Difficulty, medium. Kiriko requires strong aim, quick decision-making, and timing with her teleport and Suzu. Lifeweaver. Lifeweaver is a biotechnologist from Thailand who created the healing technology of BioLight, blending it into his skills to save others. Abilities. Healing Blossom. Charges BioLight petals to heal allies with a targeted burst of healing, providing strong single-target support. Thorn Volley. Fires a rapid spread of thorns to damage enemies, providing offensive capability when needed. Life Grip. Pulls an ally toward Lifeweaver, protecting them from damage and repositioning them to safety, which can be used both tactically and defensively. Rejuvenating Dash. Lifeweaver dashes in the direction he is traveling and heals. Pedal Platform. Creates a platform that lifts anyone who steps on it into the air, offering mobility for both Lifeweaver and his team. Can be used to disrupt enemies. Tree of Life. Ultimate. Deploys a massive BioLight tree that heals all allies upon sprouting and continues to heal teammates in its vicinity over time. Ideal for sustaining a team through prolonged fights. Playstyle. Lifeweaver is a highly supportive healer who focuses on repositioning and sustaining his team with creative abilities. Strengths. Strong utility, great single-target healing, and creative playmaking with Pedal Platform and Life Grip. Weaknesses, limited offensive output and reliant on team coordination. Best composition, poke or hybrid, with heroes like Cassidy who can take advantage of his mobility tools. Counters. Dive heroes like Doomfist, Sombra, and Zenyatta who can pressure Lifeweaver in the backline. Difficulty? Easy. His abilities require precise timing and good team awareness to be effective, but he is very hard to eliminate. Lucio. A freedom-fighting DJ from Rio, Lucio uses sound to inspire social change and support his allies in battle. Abilities. Wall ride. Lucio can jump on a wall and ride along it. Sonic amplifier. Fires large sound waves at enemies, dealing damage. Crossfade. Passively heals or boosts the movement speed of nearby allies, depending on the track Lucio is playing. Amp it up. Temporarily increases the effects of crossfade, boosts healing or speed for a short period. Soundwave. A knockback ability that pushes enemies away, often used to boot them off ledges or to control space. Sound barrier. Ultimate. Grants temporary overshields to nearby allies, providing a massive boost to survivability during critical moments. Playstyle. Lucio is a mobile support who excels at keeping his team on the move while disrupting enemies with his knockback. Strengths. High mobility, AoE healing, and speed boost for the entire team, making him essential for engaging or disengaging fights. Weaknesses. Limited healing output compared to other supports and can struggle with keeping up with high damage compositions. Best composition, dive or brawl, as his speed boost enables quick engagements or disengagements. Works well with aggressive heroes like Winston and Genji. Counters. Heroes like Winston, Cassidy, and Ana who can stop his movement or chase him down. Difficulty, medium. Lucio's wall ride is mechanically demanding, and knowing when to use each song is paramount to success. Mercy. A brilliant Swiss doctor, Mercy uses her Valkyrie suit to heal and revive her teammates, offering vital support in battle. Abilities. Angelic Descent. Mercy can choose to fall very slowly, effectively gliding around the battlefield. Sympathetic Recovery. Healing allies with Caduceus Staff heals Mercy as well. Caduceus Staff, a lock-on beam that heals allies, allowing Mercy to support from a safe distance. Caduceus Staff Alt-Fire, a lock-on beam that boosts allies' damage. Caduceus Blaster, a small pistol Mercy can use for self-defense when necessary. Guardian Angel, flies to a targeted ally with different possible trajectories, like launching forward or upward, providing high mobility to reposition quickly. Resurrect, revives a fallen teammate, bringing them back to life with full health, which can shift the tide of battle. Valkyrie, Ultimate, enhances all of Mercy's abilities, granting her flight, infinite ammo, increased healing, and the ability to link beams between multiple allies. Playstyle. Mercy excels at single-target healing, boosting the effectiveness of a key teammate, and using her mobility to reposition while keeping key allies alive. Strengths. High mobility, easily accessed damage boost, and the game-changing ability to resurrect. Weaknesses. Vulnerable when alone and has low offensive capabilities. Best composition, Poke, where she can support long-range heroes like Pharah or Ashe. Counters, dive heroes like Winston, Tracer, or Zenyatta who can easily target and eliminate her. Difficulty, easy. Mercy is beginner-friendly with a high skill ceiling, but positioning and decision-making are crucial for mastery. Moira. A cutting-edge, controversial geneticist, Moira is trying to find a way to rewrite the fundamental building blocks of life. Abilities. Biotic Grasp, a short-range spray that heals allies and consumes biotic energy. Biotic Grasp Alt-Fire, a long-range lock-on beam weapon. Damage dealt heals Moira and replenishes biotic energy. Biotic Orb, launches a bouncing orb. She can choose between one that heals allies or deals damage to enemies, making it a great tool for area control or sustain. Fade. Disappears, becomes invulnerable, and moves faster, making Moira highly mobile and difficult to pin down. Coalescence. Ultimate. Fires a long-range beam that heals allies and damages enemies and goes through barriers. Playstyle. Moira excels at consistent AoE healing while contributing damage to help secure kills. Strengths. High mobility, strong AoE healing, and self-sustain through damage. Weaknesses. Brings no utility to her team and has no form of burst damage. Best composition, brawl or dive, where Moira can stay close to her team and heal multiple allies. Counters. Any character who can out-damage her self-heal and poke her from afar, like Doomfist, Hanzo, or Illari. Difficulty, easy. Moira's kit is forgiving and effective, though mastering resource management is key. Zenyatta. A wandering monk and omnic, Zenyatta seeks to heal the divide between humans and machines while using his orbs to support allies and damage foes. Abilities. Snap Kick. Zen does more damage and can knock back enemies with his melee. Orb of Destruction. Fires orb projectiles at enemies, dealing consistent damage from a distance. Orb of Destruction Alt Fire. Charges and launches a volley of orbs, dealing devastating burst damage. Orb of Harmony. Attaches to an ally, providing continuous healing as long as they stay in line of sight. Orb of Discord. Attaches to an enemy, amplifying the damage they take from all sources, making Zenyatta a powerful support for burst damage. Transcendence. Ultimate. Zenyatta becomes invulnerable and heals all nearby allies at an incredible rate, making it ideal for countering enemy ultimates or heavy damage. Playstyle. Zenyatta targets key enemies, focusing on damaging over healing and playing from a distance. Strengths. High burst healing with Transcendence, strong ranged damage, and excellent team support with Discord. Weaknesses. Very low mobility and low defensive options aside from Transcendence and Snap Kick. Best composition, poke or dive, where Zenyatta can safely deal damage at a distance and discord key targets. Counters. Dive heroes like Winton, Sombra, and Juno can easily eliminate him due to his lack of mobility. Difficulty, hard. Zenyatta requires strong positioning and aim to maximize his utility while avoiding danger.